Robert Laporte is a young gentleman. He is the CEO and founder to Newtopia, which is an eco-solutions company that plays a very significant role in helping reduce the amount of utility costs that people pay for. We don't all have to be plugged into the grid. There are so many solutions that exist. Robert has what you call a really interesting box that he can put on these commercial buildings. And he goes in first, he does an assessment. He is a microbiologist. Robert's background, he measures everything. So he's very technical, he understands. And Robert's able with his team to, he can go into any commercial set of buildings. They are able to just assess how much energy that building is producing. Over the years, Robert has worked alongside with many bright-minded companies that have been building green energy solutions for many years. Not in Canada, outside of Canada, all different places, maybe a few in Canada, but a lot of them are outside. And these companies are very successful. They have grown, many of them past $1 billion. And what does Robert do? Robert has over time been evolving relations with these organizations, and he's able to bring some of these solutions into Canada for people. But Robert is really about, he can go in and measure how much energy your buildings are producing, and he is able to put proposal together on how you're able to reduce that dramatically. And I'm not talking just a few, I'm talking big picture. Where Robert goes hand in hand in real estate, and I just wanted to welcome Alok for joining. Welcome, Alok. We are facilitating our show today. Our special guest, Robert Laporte, who's the CEO and founder of Newtopia. He apologizes profusely. Robert right now is building a community, because that's the other thing that Robert does. He builds communities, and very much he can build smart communities. And these smart communities are, well, what I'm going to say is a few of us that are watching may be familiar with Toronto, and they might be familiar. And hello, Walter. Hi, Janine. Hi, Teresa. We had a special guest today, Robert Laporte. Robert Laporte is the CEO for Newtopia, and Robert Laporte unfortunately got backed up. I just spoke with them. So what we are doing is we're going to have Robert with us next week. We did have another guest. We're going to switch that around. Robert will be with us 4 o'clock next week, Thursday. But Robert's going to be on site, and Robert's going to be able to share with us through Zoom what this community site looks like. So he's going to be able to speak directly to what he's doing, how he's working with his client. So in the most simplest form, I'm going to say this. If, for example, you have land, and we have a lot of land in Canada, a lot of land. I know of a client of mine, she's got 120 or 110 acres, I believe. And she doesn't want to just sell it to a developer. She's actually very educated. She's very wise. She's not comfortable with what she's seeing the city doing. And they're affecting the water tables all around this area. And that's not what we want from a solution, if you will. And she has about 100 acres. And out of her 100 acres, she does not want to just sell it. She wants that land to be used for a purpose. And she wants to stay there for a period of time. So she may have an opportunity to lease out a portion of her land. And we can all do what we call, let's say, 99-year leases. And she now has been given an opportunity where she can determine exactly what business might go on that land, how that land is going to be managed, and she's not selling the land. And the energy that it takes to maintain the buildings that may go on could potentially be off the grid. What I'm sharing here is this. We live in a country, we live in a global world. We feel this right now because, well, guess what? COVID made it very real that our supply chains are globally connected. And this has been rapidly going on for 20 years. Can't take it back, it's here. We are in Canada. We all have to put a roof over our head. And we all spend on utilities to maintain, like our essential services. We have our our hydro, where do we get energy from? How are we going to heat our home? Where are we going to get our water from? Well, Robert is a microbiologist by trade. And Robert is, he's actually equivalent to an MD. He did all the courses, didn't get the credit for it, but he got into the world of consulting. Robert really cared. He wanted to make a difference at the end of the day. So Robert started working with, as a consultant. He would go in and he would kind of measure different, and Robert had an interest in really understanding, how do you do renewable energy? Well, he ended up learning and developing relations with many, many organizations, global, that have come up with incredible green solutions. Now, I'm a bit familiar with this arena, folks, especially from a real estate standpoint, partly because when we think about energy and how we keep things going, we see the green, we see the windmill, the green energies. Well, there's a lot more out there, and there's a lot of very proven out theories and proven out concepts, geothermal, all these great solutions. So what Robert's done over his time is he has collectively developed a very strong, massive network that offers various different green energy eco-based solutions. And then Robert, through understanding what we can do with land, he really does have that ability to help people save a lot of money on their utility bills. And this is really when you think and you get into the commercial space where you have multiple buildings. Robert can go in, he can do an assessment, he's able to share with somebody not only how much wastage that they're wasting, but how much that he can save them, so that the cost of them investing in the solution pretty much pays for what he's saving. Now, that's my language, folks, because I find that, we all kind of go through and we just see this linear lens, and we don't realize what we do is a component of a number of different things. Real estate's a perfect example. Real estate is not about just going out there and buying a property or going out there in a transaction. It's a whole process in itself. And when you're spending a lot of money, it's really good to work with a team that you've developed a relation with that knows the intel, you're not overspending, how you do it, all the ins and outs. It's a solution. So this company, Newtopia, is about not only saving people a tremendous amount of money on utility bills and so forth, it's about, if you have land, and for example, developers, and this is where I encourage developers to learn more about this. They want to build a smart community, okay? Or let's say that they're sitting on 30 acres and they want to develop that land. Well, think forward about the type of buyer and who would be attracted to that land. There truly is ways that you can build smart communities that are blow your hair back. This is the kind of work that Robert does. If somebody has a parcel of land, I had a client not long, 10 acres they had, and they weren't too sure, and do I sell it? Do I keep it? They don't have to sell it. They could literally keep that land. They could lease the land out, land lease, and come to us. We'll educate you on how you do this. They could do a 99-year land lease, connect them with this organization, and they could lease out a portion of their land. And this is where Robert really comes into play. He has many, it's like the network and the broker and the connections to all of this. So there's options at the end of the day. I know, and I've seen this through experience, where when we are in rural areas or agricultural areas, it's not uncommon where you may get big, huge commercial farming knock on the door, and then they're gonna offer you the lowest amount, if you will, potentially for your land. And no, that's not really gonna work that way. People are becoming more educated. Thank you, technology, where you don't necessarily have to give it away. You can keep it. You can keep it in your family and gift it down. We kind of only see what we see in our back door, which is here in Ontario and in Canada. But when we think about all the various other options that people have out there, there are countries where that's what people have done. Land has been gifted down generation to generation. So when I think about the arena of real estate, is 25% of our economy. It ties in with utilities, because it's not just the house. You got to carry the costs of that house. And it's not just the house, it's the community. And then we're thinking about, well, how do people live? So when we have developers and we're going forward in our thinking, we're really thinking about, are we building to the future? Will our audience pay just a little bit more if they have a green house, a truly green property. And I think what some of us don't always factor in is every generation thinks differently. They don't always think about, their belief systems and values are different to maybe someone who's of a different generation. But I do know that in real estate, we have to have a roof over our head. We think about the utility bills. And as a business owner, if I have commercial buildings, I think about those costs. So the Robert Laporte of the world are critically important to me. Next week, folks, we are going to have Robert here. We're going to bring him in about 15 minutes early. He is going to be on site because Robert's working right now building a community. So Robert will be able to, we can share screen, and Robert will be able to show us the work that he's doing. There's a lot more that I'd love to share, but like I'm in confidence, I can't even sort of share all of this. The only thing I can emphasize is we have what we call hydro here. It is a little bit of a outdated system. And I want everybody to know that we have options at the end of the day. Yes, the municipalities were very tied to using certain, but there are options for those that are here, and we may have land, or we know of a lot of people that might have land, or we have commercial buildings, or groups, or I own a residential apartment and I have 200 units in that apartment. These are the type of people that really want to pay attention to this organization and what they do. For those that are familiar with Toronto, and when Toronto proposed what they call the smart grid, the smart community, and I think it was Google that had it, I think you all want to pay attention to and take part and just learn and just kind of realize what options really are and what's dated, if you will. They're called business models. So I'm really excited to have Robert back. I can't stress enough and encourage enough. 4 p.m., folks, we do the CC Realty Show every week. And we stream it right now through this feed. Eventually, we'll be in other areas. We will be here next week. It's our 7th episode. And we are going to be bringing Robert back to interview. Robert's going to be able to demonstrate and show you all that's watching this community that he's building on and speak to this. I'm very excited to be able to do more with him, bring him in, because I am very much of a believer. And before I came into real estate and all of that, folks, I have my own company since 2010. I did 3 startup companies in that time frame. They were in different stages. I was brought in. One of those was what we call a green energy solution. It was a vertical wind turbine, not the big ones we see. It was a little bit different. The big, huge turbines that we Ontario government invested in, they're there, but do they give us, they basically cost more money to maintain than what we get in return. 9 years ago, there was a success story out of China called Pearl Tower, and these vertical wind turbines that we were involved in outperformed to the point where if China had a grid, they could plug energy back into the grid. So let's ask ourselves all this question here that are in real estate. Do we have the ability to have green solutions, or do we feel that what's in front of us is just what exists? You want to come back and watch us at 4 o'clock to see what really does exist and what type of solutions are out there. And if we can send astronauts to the moon, the green energy solutions folks do exist, and they exist at a mass scale. So I'm excited to have Robert here next week. Mark it in your calendar. We'll send you lots of reminders. Again, Robert Laporte is the CEO and founder to Newtopia. I just want to let everybody know that they're one step shy away from a $1 billion company. They're a $900 million company. And the investors that they work with, they are pretty much companies that have already proved it out to be around the $1 billion mark. So it's, I want a world here for my children. So I'm here to make a difference. And I truly believe, and I do know, there are a lot of green energy solutions out there, and we do not have to be always plugged into the grid. And the moment that we can really get this going, and it does take different people coming together, could you imagine having communities built off the grid? And it is possible. And we have an incredible, beautiful country behind us. Most of where we live is on the grid, but there are options at the end of the day. And as I've always said to people, knowledge, folks, is not power. Lots of people walk around with great intel in their brains, but knowledge aligned to the right people and action, now we're talking power. So I love our planet, I love our world, and I do believe, I know we can make a difference. So I'm really excited, folks, to have Robert back at 4 o'clock next week, Thursday. So think of CC Realty as we're the channel, an omni channel, and you want to watch us every week at 4 o'clock. We show up all the time. I'm going to be interviewing Robert, and we'll learn more. We will bring different people in that tie into real estate just to educate and share. The other aspect I just want to leave kind of in closing is we are all human beings, and we make decisions based on emotion. It doesn't cost anybody to have homework done. So follow us. Let us be the ones that we share this information. You know, we look at real estate sometimes very myopic, and I look at it as a bigger picture. We know that where we are right now in this industry, and with COVID coming, there was a shortage of homes in the market. There's a big shortage of homes in the market from what the data we could see. And what has that done? It doesn't make the prices go down, it makes them go up. And what's happening? We're seeing multiple offers and its prices are going up. There's a lot of people predicted to move into Ontario, and it's going to be like this for the next several years. It always has been. We have to bring in talent. We can't make enough babies. I remember hearing that 25 years ago, and we don't. So I have a passion for this industry, but I have a passion for this industry not so much because I love what home looks like. Believe me, I love what homes look like. I have a passion for this industry because money is universal. 90% of the people that are what we may refer to the 1%ers, the very successful, made their net wealth in real estate. They're no different than any of us. We're all human beings. But in a lot of cases, what we do is we trust our friends and our family, it makes sense, but they may not be the ones that have done it. And they're only protecting you based on what they may know. I like the truth, so we peel an onion back a little bit more. What I can say is, when it comes to real estate being 25% of our economy, that means everything from commercial buildings to residential buildings to communities to how we live. And I truly believe with every bone in my body that we can save this world. It is green, and all of us, and the solutions are out there. So when I met Robert, oh my goodness, did it ever verify all of that? So I think you're all going to be very excited to meet him next week. You're welcome to go check out newtopia.com. I'm going to give you all I'm going to let you in on a little secret, every one of you. When you look on that site, you're not going to get a lot of depth. Why? Robert's a very smart man. We don't put everything on a website. We understand people can comb, competition, all of that. So we just put out there what we need to put out there for now. And CC Realty, where we are with a brokerage, Keller Williams, and we're in about 8 cities. My partner is Cindy Zupanovic, who is with us in Hamilton. You want to work with us. You want to work with one of the most knowledgeable, understandable, just in this industry, it's all about helping you get across the finish line. She's one of the best in the industry. So I really appreciate everybody watching CC Realty Show. We're here every week at 4 o'clock. We're going to have Robert Laporte back. I want you to think about green energy solutions, and those big, huge windmills that we see, folks. They're not, in my opinion, great that the people that put them in. But another little secret, 11 years ago when I was doing that project, and I did work with Dalton McGuinty. When those solutions came in, it was Samsung that came from another company. They knocked on the UK door, and the UK said, no way, we aren't touching them. Why? Because I had a team of people, because we were working on a different solution. And we knew that those big solutions, although yes, they produce energy, we got to understand the higher up that we go, the more wind there is. So those windmills that are on the big, huge, large vertical wind, like turbine, they cannot have those windmills go when the winds are high. So what essentially is they created a lot of jobs. Oh my gosh, that's what politicians love. That's okay. but they did not give you the return. So they actually cost more to maintain than the energy they produced. The vertical wind turbines, and then there's a lot more solutions that have come out in the last 8-9 years. There is a way to literally take your energy costs and reduce them. I'm going to showcase, and I won't mention kind of his last name. He's a really good friend of ours. He used to own a company in Burlington called Gears and Sprockets. And he literally took his home in Burlington and he gutted it and he basically renovated it. It's almost done. His utility bills are pennies because he knew what he was doing. He put certain products in that came from other countries, his own green energy solutions. So we don't have to keep wasting our energy. There is ways of retrofitting your homes. And for those that are really interested, or let's say you have lots of commercial buildings, residential buildings, or land, there are ways of building communities off the grid. And there's ways of building communities where you might be a little bit on the grid, but you are saving dramatically. And you can build smart communities. So we are all about bringing the right information to the right people. And I like to work with best practice advisors, not someone that's just chatted. No, I need you've done it, you've proven it out. And they may be, complex and so forth, but it's important. There are a lot of teeth that go underneath all this stuff. So I hope what we've shared today gives you guys a little sneak peek. And I hope, and thank you for bearing with my ramble. I have a lot of energy. I may not always speak direct, but I can definitely bring that right content to the table. So I encourage you to watch us. Anybody that has questions, or you don't want to wait, Michelle, I'm really curious. Just we are easy to find. Just Google CC Realty, reach out to me. CC Realty, Michelle Carty, Michelle at ccrealtygroup.ca. You can find me on social media. You can find me on LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram. YouTube is our next channel that we're going to be driving. So just stay following, but I just encourage you, go take your calendar, 4 o'clock next week, Thursday, block it off, and we will have Robert with us. And he's able to speak directly, and he's going to show us some of the work that he's doing. And for anybody that's looking to take this a bit further, I'm more than happy to set up one-on-one conversations with them. So with that all being said, I want everybody to have a wonderful day. And if anybody right now is even thinking about making a purchase in real estate, this morning, we just verified the prices are scaling up, not down. And they don't appear to be going down based on what we're seeing in the demand. So, if you're working with somebody, reach out to your realtor, reach out to, but just make sure you got correct up-to-date information. And if we're hoping for this to all kind of go the other way, real estate is supply and demand, folks. And that demand is really strong and there's not a lot of supply. So have a wonderful Thursday evening, everyone. And we will see you back on Thursday, 4 o'clock, and we'll bring Robert in and just have an awesome balance of your day. So bye everyone for now.